Welcome back to the Fairgrounds Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Chad Scheck-Snyder. We roll into the meat of the Fairgrounds season, and we're happy to be joined by now two-time 2020 Eclipse Award-winning trainer, Brad Cox. Brad, thanks for taking some time to talk to us.
Thanks for having me on, Chad.
We tried to do this back in 2020. I don't know if you remember the week of Louisiana Derby. We couldn't pull it off. Both of us had things going on. That weekend, you went on to win the Munez with Factor This, the Derby with Wells Bayou, the Oaks with Bonnie South. That was a pretty good day.
Yeah, no, it was good. I think I don't think there's been many people win all three of those races. I think Bobby Frankel has, and there was kind of special company to keep with. Obviously, getting our first win in the Munez, and that was our first win in the Oaks as well. So, I'm sorry, it was our first win in the Derby, and our first win in the Oaks. We'd won the Munez with Chocolate Ride a couple years back. But yeah, it was a big day. It was obviously the start of the pandemic, which was not great. But,
no, I mean, we didn't know whether we were going to run that week.
Yeah,
and we canceled the next day, I think. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was obviously a tough time. Tough times were ahead, but it was definitely a good day for us.
So how's the winter been down here for you so far? I know got a little bit of slow, but you come around as usual, and the horses have been running pretty well down here.
Yeah, no, overall it's been good. Obviously Mandaloun to this point has been the highlight with the win in the Louisiana Stakes. That's propelled him to take the next step to the Saudi Cup. We saw enough to give us the confidence to send him out or send him to the other side of the world. So it's been good. Developed some young horses. We're hoping some of these 3-year-olds will start stepping up. Zozos was impressive. Actually, we shipped him up to Oaklawn just because the race came up this past weekend. But he was a horse that was training here, broke his maiden, and he'll actually come back here this week and start preparing for either the Louisiana Derby, the Bluegrass, the Arkansas Derby. One of those. We really don't have an idea where we're going with him. He was back, I think, in 19 days, so we'll give him time to recover from this one and go from there.
Well, that's one I definitely wanted to talk about, and we'll get into Mandaloun as well. Oaklawn's been a little rough, right? Rough weather up there. How do you balance that, just Oaklawn and Fairgrounds? I mean, constantly looking at what races, like you said, you had to put Zozos up there for that allowance, but how's that kind of changed what you do up there? Because you can't really train, right? When the weather is bad up there, they're very limited training, too.
Yeah, you'll go through some spells where, you can hit a bad patch. We hit a 4-day patch last week where we missed, obviously 4 days, but and then we missed 1 day this weekend. So, it can be a little challenging having maybe a graded stake horse there that you're preparing for a big race to keep them on a schedule. But, overall, we've been there long enough to know how it works. You kind of accept it and roll with it. I've seen horses that, you think you need to train them and breeze them every 7 days and this and that, and you run them, and they run as well as they did if they were not running or training. So it goes both ways, and there's horses you expect to run big that's missed training that don't run quite as big.
So I want to talk a little bit about your team here, because I know you got great help, and I want you to recognize kind of them and what they do for you, not only here but at Oaklawn. Your son, Blake's working for you here. That's got to be pretty cool to have him by your side, kind of learning the ropes. Does he have aspirations of following in his dad's footsteps?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that he wants to be a trainer. And he's a good horseman. He really is. He handles horses well. He knows what's going on, and he pays attention to racing, and I think that's the biggest thing. He can read a condition book. He can. He's capable of watching a horse breeze and can tell if they work well enough, and he has an idea of what's going on. So I think he'll be fine. He's still young. He's going to be 21 next week, and I think he's got an extremely bright future ahead of him.
Do you want to keep him under your wing, or do you think you just ship him off and let him learn maybe some tricks from other guys? I mean, it can't hurt, right? I mean, go somewhere else, but obviously you probably want to keep him under your wing here.
Yeah, for sure. I want to keep him, I tell him, look, I went on my own when I was almost 25, and I told him I went on my own, I was too young. Yeah. And it was a lot of lean years. So, I mean, it's definitely been, something that's taken a lot of time. So, look, I don't know. We'll see how racing itself develops over the next 5-6 years. But, I think he definitely has several years to continue on with us. And, eventually have his own string at some point. And, once he does and he feels comfortable and he gets maybe the right opportunity, opportunities has to knock as well. And he'll definitely at some point hang his own shingle, and I'm sure he'll do a fine job.
So, you touched on Zozos real quick. That was the Friday allowance winner. He wasn't exactly a secret here first time out. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you, everybody kind of wanted to see this horse run. He was kind of a buzz horse. But, man, that race on Oaklawn on Friday, he blitzed that field, geared down. And I think he ran a second faster than they did the race, the following race on Friday. I know you mentioned elsewhere you may not have a Kentucky Derby contender, but one may pop up. He got an 88 buyer, which is pretty good. I mean, that stacks up this time of year. You bringing him back here, you said. You just going to take a look. Stakes company, I imagine, next, either here or Oaklawn, right?
Yeah, for sure. Here at Oaklawn, we could look at Keeneland. Keeneland's a little ways off with the Bluegrass, but, listen, at this point, he was back in 19 days. He received a big figure. We're going to give him time to recover from that. We're going to take one big swing with him. One big swing, and if the swing, if we hit it over the fence, we're off to the Kentucky Derby. If not, then you can look at other things. There's other options throughout the country. But listen, he acts like a good horse. He's got an incredibly good mind. He's smart. We liked him a lot first time out. I thought he ran well. He didn't really switch. He didn't switch leads down the lane. He maybe raced a little green. That's all. We can live with that. And he came back. He breezed well the week before the allowance race. And thought, listen, that race was sitting there. I have like two or three colts that were eligible for it. And I thought, honestly, he was the one that made the most sense right now to ship him up there, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, he ran well, no doubt about it. I know you got a birthday coming up. They kind of start rolling together because we're close to the same age, and you're kind of like, oh, what am I, 40-something?
Mine's the 30th, by the way.
It's the 30th.
Yeah, I think Wikipedia has it down as March 3rd. They forgot they forgot the zero. It's the 30th, but it is coming up.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been at this training thing for a while now. Closing in on 1,800 wins, multiple strings and jurisdictions. But is it fair to say that Monomoy Girl put Brad Cox on the map?
Yeah, for sure. I think Chocolate Ride played a big role too. Chocolate Ride and another horse named Carve. Those were our two first. Carve was our first graded stake winner. It was followed up that next winter by Chocolate Ride. So, those were horses that I think showed the nation or owners out there that we could compete at the graded stake level. And I think that's what you got to have. I mean, you got to have horses that that you can show people. You can compete at a high level. But Monomoy Girl, right back to her. She was a first grade one winner. We had knocked on the door, very, very close in some grade ones, beaten Nose a time or so too. But she was obviously, once again, the first one that showed the racing world that we could compete at the grade one level and prepare a horse. And, not only with her, I think it helped so much that she was a grade one horse throughout her whole 3-year-old season, obviously, at the age of 5 as well. But her whole 3-year-old campaign, she won, I believe, 5 grade ones. So it wasn't just a fluke or one race wonder. It was a whole season and a whole career that really, just was amazing. And I'll say, I mean, in regards to all the horses we've had and the training jobs we've done with so many horses throughout the years, getting Monomoy Girl back to the grade one level off being gone 16 months was the greatest training accomplishment I feel like we've had to date.
Well, that was certainly special. The first Breeders' Cup win for you, the Kentucky Oaks win. You scored 2 Breeders' Cup wins in 2019. You had Covfefe, British Idiom, which are 2 very nice fillies that you had. I think 2020, like we said, will be forever remembered as the COVID and quarantine year. And but it's also a year that you won your first Eclipse Award as a trainer. And a big reason why was that Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. You knocked off 4 wins that day. Juvenile fillies turf with Aunt Pearl, the Juvenile with Essential Quality, the Dirt Mile and Knicks Go, and of course Monomoy Girl wins the Distaff for the second time. Did you think you could win 4 that day? And what do you remember about those 2 days? And don't tell me that you don't remember factor this losing the turf is about the 4 wins, but what do you remember about those 2 days?
I mean, it was unreal. It was a little odd. I mean, I remember we obviously shipped over to Keeneland after everyone had their final work at Churchill, and I remember just being one of the first people to ship into Keeneland. And during the Breeders' Cup, they put you on Rice Road. It's across the street there, and it's a real good setting for horses. Large barns, big shed rows. It's horse friendly, and we shipped over, and it was real quiet. And as the week went on, the anticipation for the races built. I believe we took 8 horses over. We had nothing on the undercards. There were 8 horses all running in Breeders' Cup races, and I thought, man, we're set up for a really, really big week. And not only that, once the horses got over there and they settled in and they were training, it was like, wow, all these horses are training really well. And honestly, I thought, man, the fact that this could win the turf or the turf mile,
right?
And Arklow, I loved in the turf. So I really did think we had a fantastic shot to have a big weekend, and it worked out extremely well. I guess the biggest thing I'll remember is it was a good atmosphere. I mean, obviously there wasn't much of a crowd, a little bit with COVID, but it was really special. Keeneland, Churchill, Kentucky, it's home for me. So to do it in Kentucky, it meant a whole lot.
So you have an Oaks, you have Breeders' Cup wins, and now we roll into 2021, and you had these two monsters, Essential Quality and Mandaloun, and you went the whole winter last year, not even wanting to talk about it Derby because you don't want to jinx it too much, but you get both of them there to the Derby. You saddle two horses there. Before we get into the race a little bit and how they performed, tell me about that feeling walking over with your family as a Louisville native, knowing, hey, this is it. Here we go. Take it all in.
It was a lot of buildup, obviously, throughout weeks in advance. But someone asked me, and I've been asked this question before. It wasn't really. I didn't view it quite. It wasn't like I felt, or it wasn't what I expected. Is
right.
What I'm trying to say. I think I was just kind of so
in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment, kind of watching Essential Quality and Mandaloun. Probably Essential Quality a little more. Mandaloun's pretty straightforward. Nothing really ruffles his feathers.
Right.
Where Essential Quality, there were drones flying overhead, planes, and I really was just kind of watching him as opposed to listening to the crowd or the buzz. But no, it was a special moment, and once again, I can remember once we saddled both horses, I legged the riders up and walking out. They play my old Kentucky home. Very special moment for anybody that knows what's going on with the Derby. And honestly, so zoned into what's going on with those horses. I remember walking out onto the track, and I was standing on the track on the outside rail watching both horses with their ponies, starting the process of warming up, and thinking to myself, they'd already played the Kentucky home and I never heard it. So it's just you're working, right. and you're zoned in. You're so dialed in to hoping everything goes well. The horses are nothing's bothering them, and they're taking it all in, and that you really don't view it like you do being a spectator.
Right.
So it was totally different for me.
So EQ goes off as the favorite, right? And runs maybe the best race of everybody. Only gets fourth, but the Risen Star winner Mandaloun was forgotten off his no-show in the Louisiana Derby 6 weeks earlier. First off, what happened at Louisiana Derby for him last year? And then tell me, how did Mandaloun go from being a buzz horse working like a freight train at Churchill and then leave the gate at 26-1? I mean, that was just a little crazy.
Yeah, he was definitely a buzz horse. And once the Louisiana Derby, before the Louisiana Derby, I mean, I was really, really confident, and which means absolutely nothing, but super confident with how he was training, and my confidence level was through the roof with him in the Louisiana Derby. I thought, this horse is he's going to win, and when he wins, my thoughts were I think he could be so impressive that he may be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
And once again, where they always say horses,
they surprise you.
Yeah, they surprise you, and,
good or bad,
and disappoint you. And it was a huge disappointment. And he came out of the race and started thinking. I remember getting back to the barn, and my son was like, "Hey, do we run him back into Lexington? Do what do we do with him? And it's like, I don't know. Let's see if there's something wrong with him."
Right.
And nothing, absolutely nothing, came out of it. I mean, just
wasn't his day.
It was not his day, and he just wasn't having any part of it that day. You could tell at the half mile pole he just wasn't going forward like he needed to be. Florian, I thought, put him in a good spot. Just wasn't his day, and he didn't fire. So obviously super discouraged. And I talked with Garrett O'Rourke and Judd Mott and said, look, if this horse trains forward, I mean, he's earned the right. He won the Risen Star. He's got the points.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we just take a shot in the Derby. And the closer we got to the Derby, watching the horse train, watching the horse breeze, it was like, there's no reason to not run this horse.
Right.
I mean, he's a real horse. He has been up into the Louisiana Derby, and he came out of the Louisiana Derby fine. So we just marched forward, and it was we're very fortunate and happy we took a shot.
So you run second to Medina Spirit. We all know what happens to him, and not going to drudge up any of that. But I do want to ask kind of what's going on. Have you heard anything about when a decision on that may come? I know they had some meetings last week, or maybe they didn't have meetings last week. But have you allowed yourself to even worry about what could happen with the whole Derby situation in Mandaloun?
No, not at all. No, I have no inside track on anything going on in regards to meetings or decisions or any of that. And listen, it's. It's I don't know. I've never been in this position. It's definitely not like winning a race, or you have a feeling in regards to like an excitement, or you're looking for someone's misfortune or anything. So it's definitely weird and odd to say the least, and it's definitely not like winning a Grade 1 or especially a Kentucky Derby. So. They could keep the money in the trophy, and I'd like to experience it the right way,
live,
as opposed to the money or trophy. But you'll take it, you'll move on, and the bottom line is we're still working every day to try to get back to that position. And hopefully we can cross the wire first at some point in a few of those derbies. I mean, that's our goal, is not only to win one, but maybe a few of them.
So EQ's off to the breeding shed for 2022, but Mandaloun does have some unfinished business. And I watched the Louisiana Handicap right by you, and as he went by Midnight Bourbon and galloped out, you said, and I'm not going to say the exact verbiage, but something along the lines of, we have a real horse this year.
Yeah.
I mean, how excited are you about maybe making a run at Horse of the Year with this horse? I mean, he's training great here, and like you said, you're about to put him on a plane to go across the world, but it seems like he's stepping into the shoes of, you lose Nick's Go, he goes away to the breeding shed, and EQ does, and here comes Mandaloun right next to him.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, this horse is starting his 4-year-old season. He's ahead of where Nick's Go was at his career. I mean, Nick's Go had a fabulous career and a great 2-year-old season. Tailed off a little bit at 3, but Mandaloun's been super consistent. One bump in the road in the Louisiana Derby. He's obviously rebounded from that, and we're hopeful as long as he stays happy, healthy, and sound. He can be one of the top handicap horses in the country.
Well, let's take a break right here. We'll come back with Brad Cox. We'll go through the barn and we'll look at some of the runners for Saturday and Risen Star Day, and we'll be back right after this. History in horse racing means something, and the folks at Louisiana Craft Butchers can certainly tell you about horse racing in New Orleans. Another historic element in New Orleans is the food culture, and at Louisiana Craft Butchers, they specialize in delivering the perfect meats for all your needs, whether it is a tailgate extravaganza, watching football at home with friends, or a holiday feast. Louisiana Craft Butchers offers it all, from boudin, hogshead cheese, and tamales, to selling over 20 different sausages, including the New Orleans favorite Palmisano homemade Italian sausage, which is a family recipe of Angelo Palmisano Sr. and his wife dating back to the 1940s. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. Louisiana Craft Butchers out in Kenner. Check them out at lacraftbutchers.com or give them a call, 504-466-9788. That's 504-466-9788, or online at lacraftbutchers.com. Back on the Fairgrounds podcast with trainer Brad Cox. And Brad, I guess we start with Saturday's runners. It's hard to believe because you go into these days usually with a bullseye on your back, right? But you're kind of flying under the radar, I think, this Saturday in the Risen Star and the Rachel. You've won 2 of the last 3 Risen Stars and got the Rachel back in 2018 with Monomoy Girl. The 2 Risen Star, I think both are going to be prices in there. You got Bodoc for Calumet and Tawny Port for Peachtree Stable. What can you tell us about these two and their styles and maybe what the expectations are for this weekend?
Yeah, both will have to step up. But obviously, Bodoc, he's a street boss. He's a full to Hints, which was a successful horse for Calumet. And, we're hoping and thinking this horse will stretch. He came down here. He was doing well. He had a little bit of an illness, a setback. Got him back to the races. We're planning on stretching him out. 6 furlong race came up. Thought, let's just run him. It's been a while since he run. Get another run into him. So, listen, he's, we're hopeful that he'll get the mile in an eighth. It's a big ask. He's going to have to step up, and we'll see how it goes. Other colt, Tawny Port, 2 for 2 on synthetic, both around 2 turns. I think he can get the mile in an eighth. His figures are definitely going to have to improve, but I think it's possible. Good-looking colt, expensive yearling that's, bred to go 2 turns and a mile and an eighth, and hopefully he can, put it all together and step forward.
Are these 2 horses, do they train together? Or?
Yeah, they've actually breezed together the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, my opinion of the breeze was fairly even together, maybe Bodoc a touch better. And then this past week, Tawny Port a little bit better on the gallop out. So that would be my honest opinion, and you can view that however you want, because most of the time it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
So, but no, they are both happy, healthy, and moving well. So I expect them to run good races, and we're going to just kind of see if they can swim in this end of the pool. This is obviously some deep water for both, and they're both going to have to step up.
Turner Loose is going to go into Rachel. It's really a nice purchase, $50,000 yearling purchase for Ike and Dawn Thrash. 4 starts at 4 different racetracks as a juvenile. Was in that crazy 3-way photo in the Jessima and at Keeneland. Earned her a trip out west. She wasn't herself really in a juvenile turf fillies, but you backed off, bring her back here. How has she matured since that start at Del Mar, and what makes y'all go for the dirt right now?
She trained well enough on the dirt last fall. She's not a big filly. She's a little bit of a lighter frame filly. So that kind of led us to the grass to begin with, and obviously the distance at Ellis Park. It's easier to find a race going 2 turns on the turf. It's a little bit kinder on some of these smaller frame fillies. So it worked out. Obviously, she stepped up. She big win in Kentucky Downs. Keeneland was a big race. Ended up 3rd. And then, just was not herself that day in California at all. Never really grabbed the bridle, took the jock anywhere. She was sitting in perfect position and just no horse at all. So we regrouped. We gave her a break. She's responding well. She's had a couple moves here down here at the fairgrounds, and working well on the dirt. And it's give us a chance to take a shot here in the Rachel and see if she likes the dirt.
You got a couple of maidens.
Excuse me.
No, you're good. You got a couple of maidens going. More Than Work is going to be part of the 3rd race, along with Almanzo, the turf race there. Are both of those going to go in that race?
Yeah, they'll both run. Both. Almanzo, he's a tap. It can go either way in regards to pedigree. He's really not run quite as well as we expected on the dirt. He may have needed his last race too. He had a little bit of a break between his Churchill race and his Fairgrounds race, but I think he's going to step up. He's been training well, and if he takes to the grass, I think he'll be tough. Other horse broke from the outside last time. He actually had a pretty tough post.
Really tough post, yeah. That was another crazy race that day. I mean, 3 of them hit the wire together. Yeah. It really could have been 4 of them. Yeah, it could have been 4.
But he ran a really good race, given the fact he broke from way out in the outside, and hopefully he'll move forward. But both those horses are doing well. I expect them to both be there at the end.
Major Contender gets his 2nd start here at the Fairgrounds meet. Going to have the rail in the 4th race sprinting. This Distorted Humor colt for Gary and Mary West, a homebred for them. 5th last time out, but he ran into a nice horse, huh? Zozo?
Yeah.
He ran into Zozo's first time out.
Yeah, I think this horse will eventually go long. We thought we'd try, give him another race around 1 turn before we stretch him. He's not a big horse, but I do think he should stretch at some point. I think this might be a good spot. Not wild about the post, but hopefully he can overcome it.
6th race on Saturday card, you got one in, and that's Masai Warrior. Masai Warrior. That's one actually. I was on that horse on LeCompte Day. I really thought when Colby had him by a length in the lane, and the other horse, Gunfighter, comes back and beats him, and I thought Masai Warrior was going to hang on, but this looks like a nice colt too. I mean, he's close to getting out of these maiden ranks.
Yeah, I'm hopeful Saturday will be his day. Once again, I mean, he looked like a winner last time and run down by a horse that the Gunfighter's decent. I mean, he's a nice horse, can run a big figure, and hopefully this was this colt's first time going long and only 2nd race of his life. So I'm thinking that he got something out of it. He needed it, and now here we are. He's been working well since, and hopefully he can step up.
Gunfighter and Cyberknife are going to see each other in the 8th race. Plan on running both of those in the allowance race on Saturday?
Yes, we're going to run them both. They're both doing well. Excited about both. And we're hopeful that this is a step toward introducing these horses back to graded company for the 3-year-olds, and hopefully one of them, maybe both of them, can step up. Cyberknife, no secret, we like him. You can tell by how we've run him and placed him that we think he's a good colt. He's not all there mentally. We're hoping that just racing, the experience of leading him over there will continue to pay off. And Gunfighter, ran a big race last time. Obviously, it was his first run around 2 turns. I think it was his 3rd start of his career, and he stepped up. He's a horse that's been working really well here all winter, so we'll see how it goes.
Do you think Lasix is something with Cyberknife? I mean, too bad he had Lasix in the maiden special weight here, and then he had to come off of it for the stake. But is that something that not really?
Not really. No. I mean, if they're bleeding, yes, but he's not bleeding, so therefore I can't really use it as an excuse.
I was watching him in the paddock, and I was like, man, I might put a little money on Cyberknife if he doesn't act up. And he seems like he did fine in the paddock leading up to the race in LeCompte, and he looked composed. And you're kind of waiting, see what he's going to do, if he's going to pull out any tricks on you or nothing. But I thought he was pretty composed. He just didn't run as good could have raced some of those other
Yeah,
horses.
no, he was a little wide. I mean, he just and had all opportunity when they straightened up at the quarter pole to kick on, and he just didn't fire. So, he's a horse that we're hopeful that he just continuing to take him over there and getting him some experience, he'll move forward.
A couple others in the barn here. I saw worked over the weekend. Got a bullet work. She Dares the Devils back. The Kentucky Oaks winner from last year. What a nice horse she is, and now she gets the older fillies and the Azarian Apple Blossom. I assume that's the right spots for her.
Yeah, that's our plan right now. She's she was in Ocala. Came to us the first part of the year and really stepped up and getting ready quick. She's obviously the older horse that. These older horses that get a month or two off didn't take long to get them ready, but she looks amazing physically. She's a good workhorse. Had a fantastic work yesterday morning, so super happy with what we've seen so far.
Juju's Map, is she still on?
She's going to be here today.
Good.
To the fairgrounds. She's very close to starting her getting back on the work tab. Don't really know where we're going with her right now. It's a little too early to tell, but she's happy, she's healthy, and hopefully she'll have a big 2022 campaign.
It's a turf sprinter I want to ask you about. Going Good. It's a 4-year-old congrats filly, not seen since Saratoga, but she was 8 starts last year, 4 wins, 2 seconds. The Damn Good Deed was one I liked the Damn Good Deed when she was running around the Midwest, and is Going Good back, getting back together
yeah.
run soon?
We're probably going to point her for the stake. You change the name on some of these things.
Louisiana Derby weekend?
No, I think it's March 1st or so.
Okay.
Mardi Gras. It might be the Mardi Gras.
Oh, Mardi Gras handicap. Yeah,
Mardi Gras handicap.
Okay.
So then we're pointing her for that right now. She's doing well. She looks really, really good. And you'll see. Get her back going there.
Warrant is skipping the mine shaft this weekend, but is he a contender for the New Orleans Classic?
Actually, right now we're thinking about taking him to Santa Anita for the Big Cat.
Okay.
We don't. We've looked at the division out there. We've tried to do some homework. I know it's early. I think the race is March 5th, and we're trying to come up with who may run. And we just think it might be a good spot for him. I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get at the Grade 1 level, and this might be one that's makes sense for him. He ran a really good race last time, beating a little ways, but obviously ran behind 2 very, very good horses.
And was carrying more weight than both of them that day for some reason.
Yeah,
I just don't understand.
We talked about it doesn't make sense with this day and age with racing. A horse like that could carry more weight than Mandaloun and Bourbon.
I think one horse we're excited to see is this Into Mischief colt you got out here by AP Indy mare Flashing, and the horse is named Strobe. All she did was win the test at Dan's, but Strobe's been on the regular on the work tab here at the fairgrounds. I don't know if you know this. Did you know the full brother Crump has run here?
Yeah. He broke his maiden. I think he broke his maiden here.
For Britain Walsh, in December. Yeah, ran second. Actually, in a race you win with Fan Club. Actually, was in that race where he run second. But tell us about Strobe and how this one's coming along.
He's training well. He's a little ways away. He had a gate work last weekend. It was over a little bit of a heavy track, and I think our plan right now is to work him next weekend out of the gate again. So he's getting close. I'm going to say the first part of March, he'll be ready to roll.
Okay. Icy Stare Down, a frosted 3-year-old filly that's at Oaklawn, broke maiden at 6 furlongs in the mud. That race has come back a really key race with a couple of winners. What's the plans for her?
She's actually entered in a stake this weekend, the Dixie Belt at Oaklawn. But she's doing good. She's a nice frosted filly that we're hoping can take a step forward, and she'll be competitive in stakes this year.
So you got a Icy Stare Down and Girl with a Dream. Won the Letelier here, sprinting. Goes over to Gulfstream, runs a great race last weekend, gets the Forward Gal. 7 furlongs, taking that next step. Do you keep pushing the envelope with her, maybe get her around 2 turns?
We got her back here at the fairgrounds. We're going to kind of let her just settle in from that race. I'm not sure if she's going to be a 2-turn horse. I'm not saying we won't try it, but we're just going to kind of let her tell us over the next few weeks, where we are with her.
How good was Plainsman the other day?
Really good for a horse that hadn't run in a couple months, and then actually missed a work race week before and run against a very good horse. Horse was second. Ran a game race, and it was a good matchup. So, proud of his effort. Very consistent horse. We've had him. We took this horse over like halfway through his 3-year-old season. We had him for probably 6-7 months. Did some good with him. Won the Discovery. Lost him. Then we picked him back up, and we've had him for a solid. I guess we've had him for now maybe a year and a half, and he's been a little bit of a project along the way. I mean, he's had some issues with his feet, but right now he's the last year or so he's been on go, and he's just a tough, solid horse. Really cool horse to be around. He's a very kind horse, beautiful horse, kind of plain but big and kind, and if you hang around him, you'll like him just because he's just such a kind horse.
And he's a millionaire now for John Ed Anthony and Shortleaf Stable. I know they're native Hot Springs, but you could keep him up there? Probably keep him up there at Oaklawn?
Probably so. Mr. John Ed obviously really gears up for Oaklawn, and he loves racing there. His family's there. They're able to come out to the races, and the Oaklawn handicap's probably his big target. He may show up in the Essex, but that would definitely be his Breeders' Cup this spring.
Yeah. How many Louisiana bred do you have in the barn besides Australasia? Is she the only one?
She would be the only one.
She's the only one. Yeah, I was wondering about that. I know she's and she's not just a Louisiana bred. I mean, she's held her own open company, and I'm sure you're glad to have her back running.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting her back started. This is a great race to get her back started in. Three other things that she's eligible for. That's makes all the sense in the world to get her back going, and hopefully we can get her. This is hopefully a step toward, graded stakes this year. She's a stake winner. We need to make her a graded stake winner to increase her value, and that's our plan.
One more debut horse I'm going to ask you about, then we'll get to some other stuff. Coach Happy. Bob works at Oaklawn. You got a 3-year debut coming up soon for this one?
Yeah, I think, I can't remember exactly when, but there is a race in the book there at Oaklawn that we're getting ready to enter him in.
Are you kind of surprised these run Happies are excelling going long when he was such a dominant sprinter?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I could see that. Funny story about Run Happy. I claimed the mare.
Did you really?
Yeah, I think I claimed her off Todd Pletcher for like $5,000 or $10,000. I lost her for $10,000 or $7,500, and ended up selling her for like $1.4 million. Bella Jolie. I'll never forget this.
Bella Jolie.
Yeah,
wow.
Claimed her at Turfway, claimed her at Delaware. If you look her up, it says start of Last Connection. I was listed as the trainer.
Oh man. Wow. That's a good story. That's a good one there.
I think. It is hard to say. I mean, obviously, Run Happy was a brilliant horse. They thought he was going to go long. I think they tried him in the LeCompte as a 3-year-old maybe down here. So, he was brilliantly fast horse that, I think sometimes when a horse is really fast, it doesn't mean they won't go long, but it's kind of like if it's not broke, you don't fix it type of thing. So, I'm sure if they would have stretched him, it's definitely... He could have definitely, stretched out.
So I got a couple of rapid fire questions for you now. Favorite small track?
Small track.
I'm gonna throw one that I think you really love.
I was gonna say Indiana Grand.
I was gonna say Prairie Meadows.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of good at Prairie Meadows.
No, that's right. I like. I would say maybe even Delta. I think it's any time we're say running horses that we may think maybe might have a little bit tougher time getting their maiden broke. And we like Ellis. I don't know if you declare Ellis a small track, but
not the way it's been going the last couple of years.
So those are all tracks that we like. But I like anywhere we can win.
Your favorite horse growing up, not one that you've trained, but your favorite horse growing up.
Lure. I was a big fan of Lure. He's a fast miler for Claiborne and Sugar McGahee. I was very, very, I was just amazed at that horse, and when I kind of was, getting into racing, I was just a fan of Lure. I really liked Lure growing up.
Favorite sport other than horse racing?
Probably football or basketball. Probably basketball early on. As I've gotten older, maybe watching football a little bit more as opposed to basketball, but those would be my favorite.
Most ridiculous thing a jockey told you right after the race? And you don't have to name names on this one if you don't want to, but win or loss, what's one of the most ridiculous things you've heard?
I don't know if it's one particular thing, but I'm not a big excuse guy. And I think most of my guys know I don't really like excuses. I don't like hearing about, I could have got here, I could have got there, and all this crap. But, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe sometimes when... you finish mid-pack and you had the horses ready as you're going to get it, and the jock comes back and maybe they kind of give you like, next time is like There's earthly nothing. If I do exactly what I just did next time, I'm going to end up middle of the pack. So I can't really come up with one line.
I mean, do you are you a big instructions guy in the paddock? No
Zero.
instruction.
Not many. Very rare. We just go through the pace. No, I think instructions
Leave it up to them.
Incredibly overrated, and you're wasting your breath. So
doesn't matter anyway.
No, it doesn't matter. And you know what I've noticed when you really dissect a race, or you try to dissect a race, and I think you can get an idea of the pace, the play out, how it's going to play out. But you could spend 15 minutes dissecting a race, and then when the gates open, it doesn't even play out anything like you thought.
Right.
You may think, oh, this jock's aggressive, he's going to leave there. This horse has speed. Next thing you know, it's. I think a lot of that stuff's overrated.
One thing I forgot to mention: Bonnie South, is she back here?
She is. Yeah, she's doing really well.
Doing really well. Well, good. We hope to see her soon. You can follow you, Brad Cox, BradCoxRacing.com. You're more of a Twitter guy. Is that you on Twitter, or is that the boy? Is that?
No, I have Holly Smith runs my Twitter account.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter, but I don't post.
You don't mess around with it too much?
Yeah, exactly. It's a great source for information. Sometimes too much information.
Yeah, sometimes too much is right. Well, Brad, we certainly appreciate the time here on the Fairgrounds Podcast. Best of luck this week, and no pressure, right? Going for a three-peat in the Eclipse category. You got to start somewhere, and no pressure now, right?
No, sir. Keep things rolling. That's all we can do.
All right, Brad. I appreciate it, man. That'll do it for the Fairgrounds Podcast. For our guest, Brad Cox, I'm Chad Scheck-Snyder. Check back later this week as we'll be dropping a couple of different handicapping podcasts in advance of all the big races coming up this Saturday.